20 decades have passed since anyone last heard from Butch Cassidy in 1908. He simply vanished without a trace. However, he didn't actually die as everyone believed. He's been living discreetly for years in a small town in Bolivia, hidden under a new name, James Blackthorn. Now much older, wearied by the weight of time and after a solitary life in the middle of nowhere, he decides the time has come to return to the United States and confront the rest of his past. What drove him to make this decision? He discovered that someone who had once died of tuberculosis. The news hit him hard and made him reflect deeply. She meant a lot to him, and learning of her death awakened a feeling he thought he had forgotten. He sits down and writes a letter to a man named Ryan, who turns out to be his son. In it, he explains his intentions to return to his homeland. It is a crucial step. All this time, he's been raising horses, living a solitary existence, and letting life pass by calmly. Before leaving, he confides in Yana, his partner in Bolivia, that he will see her one last time before disappearing forever. Then he heads to an establishment called Poe, where he sells his horses and settles some pending matters. There he withdraws all his money from the local bank, buys a new suit, and sits down to play cards with some of the men who bought horses. He prepares for his return to the town. Everything seems to be on track, but just then an unexpected problem arises. On his way back, he spots a dead horse in the distance in the middle of the road. Curiosity drives him to stop, and as he examines the scene, someone surprises him. The stranger tries to take him, but Blackthorn resists and defends his animal no matter what. He shoots at the intruder, hitting the animal instead of the man, causing it to fall to the ground. Unfortunately, that reaction creates a commotion that spooks Blackthorn's own horse, which panics and flees, taking with it all the money it was still holding in its mouth. In this way, he ends up losing his entire fortune. It is revealed that the stranger is Eduardo Apodaca, a Spanish mining engineer who claims to have thought Blackthorn was one of his pursuers. Night falls and both camp under a blanket of stars. Eduardo is nervous, especially when Blackthorn pulls out a knife. However, instead of attacking him, the man simply lets him go. Surprised and relieved, Eduardo takes a deep breath. We flash back to 1900, where a Butch Cassidy in the United States gets caught on a farm fence wire, struggling to reach his gun. Two men on horseback, armed and ready to shoot, approach quickly. Just in time, his partner Sundance Kid appears and manages to rescue him. Aware of the imminent danger, Butch proposes fleeing to South America in the hope of escaping the police. In the present, Eduardo desperately seeks out Blackthorn on multiple occasions with a very risky proposal. He confesses that he stole $50,000 from a wealthy Bolivian miner named Simón Patiño, and that he has it hidden in an abandoned mine. He offers Blackthorn a part of the loot if he helps him recover it. Having no money after the loss on the road, Blackthorn accepts, but only if he receives half. He warns Eduardo that every difficult step, every minute without water, and every sacrifice they face will be a debt to him. He also makes it clear that if he lies about the existence of the money, he will not hesitate to end his life. In this way, they cross the arid desert with Patiño's men, very close and only a day away. During a break, they stop at a canteen to resupply and buy ammunition. In front of the mine, where the money is supposedly buried, Eduardo begins to become paranoid. He suspects that Blackthorn might betray him and shoot him as soon as they have what they are looking for. He even points a gun at him that he secretly took from the canteen. Blackthorn remains calm, acting with ease and ensuring that the pistol is useless because he already removed the bullets. Eduardo backs off, although deep down, Blackthorn was only bluffing, never having touched the ammunition. They find the money as Eduardo promised, and just before they can breathe a sigh of relief, Patino's group arrives. Blackthorn turns off the lights in the mine, and taking advantage of the darkness, they both flee with a messy but effective commotion, taking the loot. They then acquire inexpensive horses and ride to a cabin that Blackthorn secretly owns. While they rest, he begins to think about everything that has happened, about the friends he has lost, and about the years he will never get back. A flashback transports us to 1905 in Argentina, where a sick and on-the-run Butch Cassidy takes refuge in a small motel, accompanied by Sundance and a woman. The situation quickly becomes complicated when they are ambushed by the local police. A detective named McKinley begins interrogations, but the woman intervenes, and with a gun manages to help them escape by a narrow margin. At the cabin, Yana arrives to say goodbye to Blackthorn. As a farewell gift, she gives him a pocket watch that she obtained in a card game. At first, she scoffs and calls it a simple foreign object, but eventually keeps it as a memento of him. She asks to spend the night, but she says she must return to her family. That same night, she silently returns to the cabin, seeking to share one last night with Blackthorn before leaving forever. The next morning, after that chaotic night, everything gets worse. Two women from the group who have been chasing Eduardo manage to find them and enter without warning. They seem to be only asking questions, but it is clear that they are not. One of them suddenly pulls out a hidden pistol and shoots, hitting Blackthorn. Yana reacts without thinking and shoots back, managing to wound one of them, although at the cost of receiving a mortal wound on her own body. With the shootout over, Eduardo shoots the last pursuer. The threat has been neutralized, but at a high cost. Blackthorn, wounded and weakened, holds Yana in his arms, completely devastated and weeping for his loss. Then Eduardo takes care of the bodies, throwing them into the river to hide the evidence. He also tries to heal Blackthorn's wound, mending him as best he can. Although both understand that time is not on their side, the rest of the group looking for them is still close, lurking in the shadows. In a distant memory, Bach is seen at a train station in Balacha, Bolivia. He is with a pregnant Ada, getting ready to return to the United States. She begs him to go with her, to abandon that life, but he refuses. He watches her leave on the train, and once again, an opportunity for a normal life disappears. Back in the current timeline, Blackthorn and Eduardo cross the vast and silent salt flats of Bolivia, trying to stay one step ahead of their pursuers. Their plan is to reach the coast, where Blackthorn hopes to board a ship and return home. But luck is not on their side. The band chasing them quickly blocks their way in the open desert. Knowing what is coming, Blackthorn tells Eduardo to take the strongest horse and all the money and flee in another direction while he distracts his pursuers. Eduardo hesitates but finally rides away, leaving Blackthorn to face the threat alone. Two men chase him, shoot and knock down his horse, but before they can reach him, Blackthorn uses his deadly aim, eliminating the attackers one after another. Elsewhere, Eduardo is also in trouble. He manages to kill one of the pursuers, but his pistol runs out of bullets. When a man approaches, determined to shoot, Eduardo counterattacks with a knife and manages to finish him off. A flashback shows Beach and Sundance in San Vicente in 1908, seriously wounded, fleeing the Bolivian army. Somehow, the soldiers believe their bodies are dead, and they manage to escape detection. In the present, Blackthorn collapses exhausted in the salt flats, weak and wounded. He is found by a local farmer who takes pity on him and takes him to a small doctor in Tupa. The doctor recognizes Blackthorn's identity and secretly contacts an old Pinkerton detective, McKinley, who now lives in retirement in Bolivia. McKinley comes to see him and confirms his suspicions. Indeed, it is Butch Cassidy. He always believed that the bodies they buried in San Vicente were not his, and now he has the proof. He first tries to arrest him, but then changes his mind. Instead of handing him over, he returns his gun and helps him escape. Shortly after, Meninle discovers new details about Eduardo and the stolen money. It turns out that those $50,000 did not come from a wealthy businessman, but from a mining cooperative of poor Bolivian families who had taken over the mines to survive after years of exploitation and poverty. McKinley cannot believe that such an important story has been lost. The news was spreading throughout the country. He tells Blackthorn that as the real Butch Cassidy, that would never have been in his hands. Blackthorn, still pained, recalls his confrontations, his struggle to survive, and the lives he could save. Now he understands that many of his adversaries were not really bad, but people who were only trying to defend their community. Despite the disappointment, McKinley decides not to report him. In another past memory, Sundance is dying. In his poor and weakened state, he asks Butch to perform a terrible act in that moment of pain. With a heavy heart, B fulfills his last wish and takes the life of his closest friend. Moved by all the events and by the true story of the stolen money, Blackthorn crosses the Andes with the firm intention of finding Eduardo. The Bolivian army and the miners are approaching quickly and time is running out. When he finally finds Eduardo, he demands an explanation. He admits that he took the $50,000, but not from an oligarch, but from an impoverished mining community in Bolivia. The truth is, those funds came from families seeking to survive after years of exploitation. Furious, Blackthorn shoots him in the leg, depriving him of the ability to flee. He makes it clear that he doesn't care who the money belonged to, but that lying, killing, and dragging that story make him a criminal. He shoots him in the leg, not to kill him, but so that he understands the seriousness. Lying and crime have limits, and he would not cross them. He orders him to take the gun and leave him there with the money and to flee immediately as the army is approaching imminently. In a matter of minutes, they arrive and end up executing Eduardo in Blackthorn's presence. The army, along with McKinley, continued their pursuit in a remote area of the Andes. But the commander, annoyed by the help McKinley gave, abandons him in the desert without a horse. In the final moments, Blackthorn is seen alone contemplating the mountains. He is exhausted, but his mind travels through old memories, friends of yesteryear, happy times, opportunities he let pass. He turns around, gives one last look in the distance, and perhaps in an act of hope, seeks to close that chapter or simply rest at last. The moral is clear. Running from oneself only prolongs regret. Confronting one's own history with honesty and courage offers the only possibility of recovering dignity and